Shabbat Shalom. We have a small but mighty crowd tonight. I'm so happy you are all here. I feel like it's like the maiden voyage of my coming back after the sabbatical. So this is, I like small because if I don't do something well, it's not a huge crowd to not do something well in front of, so this is good. But I am getting to do my once a year I get to do a service from a humanist perspective. And this Shabbat is all about worshiping together, but not necessarily worshiping with a deity, which is why you weren't handed a prayer book this evening, but rather a prayer packet and hopefully a song sheet. And we will be together in community, study a little Torah, sing a little bit together, and worship. You see, to be a Jew has never meant that you have to accept some kind of predefined concept of a deity. In fact, does anybody know what constitutes a person being Jewish, at least in the traditional sense? Anybody know? Traditionally, if you wanted to be considered Jewish, what would have to be? Yes, you would have to have a Jewish mother. Or you would have to have made conversion with some kind of rabbi that would recognize you as Jewish. And once you are recognized as Jewish, you are seen as fully Jewish. But never along the line was there any kind of litmus test that says you have to believe a certain way. Now, there are some congregations that say, well, one should perhaps say the Shema, which talks about accepting the sovereignty and the yoke of one God. But we, as a congregation, don't do that. That's not part of our gate. That's not a hoop you have to jump through. There is no, you have to believe in God in order to be Jewish. And so I wanted to do a service together so that we could worship and be together in community, but not have the constraints of having to pray in such a way that makes us feel inauthentic or a lack of integrity because we didn't necessarily believe. For different people, the concept of God means different things. Some people see God as a deity that intervenes. Others see it as first cause. Maybe God created the universe but doesn't get involved in our everyday lives, so that there is some kind of God that underlies the totality of everything but doesn't interact with us. And others believe that it's possible to have a very deep relationship with God. Whatever your concept of God is up to you to decide. We are not here to dictate to you what you have to believe, or even if you don't believe. And so tonight, I ask you to lean in to your disbelief, open your mind, and let's experience this Shabbat together in community. And so we're going to open with the song Hine Ma Tov, which can be found on the top of your prayer packet. Hine Ma Tov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad means how wonderful it is for us to be sitting together, except you guys are sitting kind of apart. I'm just going to say, I was on a lot of planes this past month, and if this were a plane, they would really make us, kind of consolidate, just saying. But I'm not going to ask you to change your seats. I want you to be comfortable and enjoy the community as it is. Let's sing Hine Ma Tov together. Hine Ma Tov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Ma Tov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Ma Tov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Ma Tov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Ma Tov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. I've already closed the stand ring on my phone, so I'm going to do most of the service tonight sitting down, and we will stand together at one time when we do the Mourner's Kaddish. But other than that, we get to sit down together and just enjoy. As Shabbat approaches, the evening beckons us, inviting us to slow the pulse of our daily activities, to consider a different pace. It is at this time, at the end of our hectic week, that we create a silent space, a place to deepen our awareness of the passage of time. We pause to renew our vision, to refresh our spirit, to embrace the wonders of life. Let's read together. As Shabbat approaches, we dare to dream. The dusk softens the stark light of reality, which often looks harsh, uncompromising, unbending. The night can intensify our imagination, encourage our hopes. May we use this time, this Shabbat, to renew our confidence. Let us look not only at the fragility of our lives, at our trials and disappointments. Let us emphasize the strength of our lives, the successes, the many pleasures that make up the fabric of our lives. Shabbat reminds us of the passage of time, encourages us to use our time wisely, giving meaning to our lives. Shabbat reminds us of the beauty in life, allowing us to reflect upon the joys, the treasured moments in our days. Shabbat reminds us of the values of our Jewish heritage, prompting us to use this time, as did our ancestors, to consider what gives value to our lives. And so tonight, in lieu of blessing a deity, if you will, we've kindled the lights of Shabbat, and so we are going to bless the light. Night seeps up from the ground. Light falls from the stars, distant, icy, ancient beyond all who came before. But the light of Shabbat is warm. The light of the Sabbath is ours. The light of this Sabbath is of this time, of this place, of lives that we know the past only in a dream. As we kindle these lights, we create a place of warmth. As we kindle these lights, we welcome time for reflection. As we kindle these lights, we stake our claim. And while these lights burn, this time is ours. Baruch ha'or ba'olam, blessed is the light within the world. Baruch ha'or ba'adam, blessed is the light within each person. Baruch ha'or ba'shabbat, blessed is the light of the Sabbath. And so we welcome Shabbat, and we're here together in this congregation, in this place. How wonderful it is to be together. And let's sing Ma Yafeh Hayom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Let the Sabbath be. Let the Sabbath be a time for believing in what could be and seeing with new eyes. In this serious world, let us take ourselves less seriously. In these harsh times, let us listen for a soothing word. While the world around us unfolds in an instant, let us judge each other a little more slowly. Let the Sabbath shine a light into a corner of ourselves where hope is renewed. Let us remember a reason to be joyful and a way to be gentle. Let's take a moment to really breathe in the peace, the joy, the love, and the awe of Shabbat. And let's take a moment of silence. One minute of silence. How difficult is it to sit quietly for 1 minute? How many of you wanted to reach for your phone? Okay, just me? All right, my phone's not here, but really, I thought about it. How many of us are addicted to that phone? Yeah, I know. It's okay. I lean into it. I didn't have my phone, but I thought about hitting my watch, just, the cameras are watching me. And I had to look good in front of you guys. But Shabbat is a time for us to put away the phone, put away the watch, put away the distraction from remembering who we really are, and that this is the time for our souls to renew and rejuvenate. It is said, the Kabbalists told the world that on Shabbat we were given 2 souls, which is why some families have 2 loaves of challah on Shabbat to represent Shabbat and the 2 souls that we are given. And we're given 2 souls to heighten our awareness of this holy time. And the reason why we are reluctant to return to the chol, to the work week after Havdalah, is because we have to give back one of those souls. And so the 25 hours that we live in the holiness of this sacred time, we are given that heightened awareness as a gift and as a little foretaste of what the Olam Haba, what the world to come, could potentially look like. No, you don't have to believe that there is an Olam Haba. I'm just repeating what the Kabbalists said. You can draw your own conclusions. We continue on page 3. To this place, we come to lengthen our perspective. Together, to this place we come to question and explore. In this place we awaken our imaginations. In this place we draw strength as we allow ourselves to dream. Together we share the challenges of an ever-changing world, a world often beyond our control, incomprehensible and frightening. Together we seek to find meaning, ease our fears, understand our purpose. Together we share the burden and the blessing of responsibility. Today we join together in the safety of community as we reflect on our Jewish heritage. Today we join in the bond of community as we celebrate this moment. Lo yisa goy el goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, nor shall they ever know war anymore. This comes from the book of prophets. And just as We had war back in olden times. We find ourselves still living in nation lifting up sword against nation. And so we pray for peace for all humanity, because all of us can come together in agreement that humanity should be allowed to exist and to thrive. And so when we pray for peace, it's not one nation against each other. It's all of humanity should be able to live. So may this be the will, not of God, but of we humans. It is up to each one of us to be informed and to consider carefully. But ideas are inert if they are not infused with life through acts of love and kindness. To know where we stand is crucial. To act is to be counted. So I want to take a moment to do a very short meditation to help us be ready, to be counted upon, to be the change that this world needs. You see, coming to services is not only to see our friends, although when that happens, that's wonderful, but really the whole object of prayer is to come into a time of contemplation and leave rejuvenated and energized so that we can act in the world for a greater purpose. Whatever purpose it is that we're called upon to do. We don't have to make death-defying leaps to make a difference in this world. Just to smile at someone that we pass on the street makes a difference. And it reminds me of that story of the starfish, where there was that young boy who was on the beach throwing starfish one by one that had washed up onto the sea, from the sea onto the beach. A gentleman came up to the young lad and said, "Why are you even bothering to throw the starfish back into the sea? It's not going to make any difference. There's hundreds of starfish that have washed up on the beach, and you can't make a difference in all of their lives." Well, the young boy, undeterred, picked up another starfish and threw it into the sea and said, "I made a difference to that one." So let us remember to act like the starfish, the boy throwing the starfish, that we can make a difference, even if it's to one. And that's all we're being asked to do. But the whole purpose of prayer is to come out a different person so that we can take an action to make the world a better place. This next reading that we're going to do after we do the meditation is from Anne Frank. And we take the lesson of her very short life and what a difference she made in her life, even though 2 years of it were spent in an attic, and she didn't even realize that her diary, when cast upon the world, would be something that would be read for generations. And so let's take a moment to get into a meditative state so that we can come back to ourselves and really center, for we who have lost faith at times, to come back to some kind of belief. Let us take a deep breath in, hold it, and release. Let's put our hands on our legs or gently at our sides. Let's close our eyes, or if you care to, keep them all open, but just keep them soft. Let your jaw relax. Let your tongue very gently stay right on the bottom of your mouth, and keep breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. May we breathe in the seeds of belief. Belief that we have everything that we need to survive and thrive in this world, even when it seems frightening. Let us continue to take a deep breath in, hold for 1 second, and release. And I want to draw your attention to your breath. That just as the Torah said, that when man was created from clay, the difference between the clay and life was breath. And so let's feel the holiness of the breath coming in through our nose and out through our mouths. Let's think about a seed. When a seed is planted in soil, even if the seed is planted upside down, it knows the direction that it has to grow. You don't have to dig up the seed to see if it's germinating. You just let it stay under the soil, put it in some kind of light, whether it's sunlight, and add an ample amount of water. And you can believe that the seed knows exactly what it's supposed to do. It trusts that it will grow at the right time when the conditions are right. Let's take a moment to remember that our ideas, our actions, our beliefs, and our energies are like seeds. And it knows exactly when it's time to spring forth and to take hold of the soil and grow into something magnificent. But sometimes seeds have tough outer shells, and it just takes a little longer than what we would have thought. And so let us take this meditation to continue to soften so that we, like the seeds, can sprout and grow and be energized by the environment around us at the right time to do the greater good in our world. I'm going to draw your attention back now to my voice, to this place, this holy community, the warmth of friendship, friends that we know and friends we haven't met yet. That's what the cookies are for at the Oneg. But just being together on this holy and sacred Shabbat is enough to start the warmth of the soil, of the conditions that will be ripened for we as seeds to grow and to take shape, whatever it is that we are supposed to be for this week. We come back now and continue on page 4 with the words of Anne Frank. I believe that we have the power to make tomorrow different from today. I believe that poverty need not be permanent and people not learn war forever. I believe in people despite the misery and suffering we sustain. I believe that there can yet be a time of peace and a time of justice, a time of unity for all who live on earth. I believe we share the task of bringing that day closer by the way in which we live. The world may smile at my dreams, but no matter, I still believe. Hillel said, do not separate yourself from the community, al tifrosh min hatzibur, that we are not meant to live isolated from one another, but rather to be in community. Being in community is so difficult because, well, let's face it, people are difficult. So now I want to tell you the story of the porcupines. Some of you might recall I've told this story before, but humor me. It's a great story, and I like porcupines. For those who might not remember their childhood, porcupines are very prickly, like some people can be. And the porcupines found that when they huddled together, because it was so cold outside, well, they pricked each other and they cut each other, and it was very uncomfortable to be together. So the porcupines made the difficult decision to separate and go their own ways. But unfortunately, when the porcupines did that, well, there was no warmth for them. They couldn't get warm. So they realized they had to come back together as a community, and they had to endure the cutting and the prickling and the discomfort. But they realized that they were stronger together. So let us remember to be like the porcupines. It's a little uncomfortable to have to deal with people, but it's worth it through the cutting, through the prickling, because really when we are together, we warm each other and we strengthen one another. Page 5. These are the walls. These are the walls we share. These are the words we speak. We lend our voices to one another. With breath and pitch, we build a greater sound. Our thoughts, unique and incomplete, join a river of words. Word upon word, careful and precise. Some carve a place to land. Some launch a solo flight. Words and rhythms, silence and song. One's resolve is another's rage. One's reflection, another's prayer. Touching the fingers of hope, treading the edges of fear, testing the boundaries of belief. These are the walls we share. These are the words we speak. At this time, I would like to take a moment to study a little Torah. And so I'm going to ask, if you are, wherever you're sitting, people in the front row, there should be a Chumash, there should be an Etz Chaim commentary either under your seat or under the seat next to you. And for those who are in the second row or above, there should be a Chumash under the seat in front of you. And so we are going to be studying the Torah starting on page 320. This week's Torah portion is Shemot, and Shemot means names, which is kind of ironic because some of the names that we're going to hear about, we don't hear from these people ever again. And yet, these names that we learn about in this week's Torah portion are very important because these two women made a huge difference in the world in just their actions. And so we begin on page 320, and because I've been doing a lot of speaking tonight, I'm going to see if there's anybody who would like to be our court reader for tonight. Anybody wants to read page 320 to 321? Oh, great, thanks, Sam. I'm going to have you do it on the microphone. Even though you have a loud, booming voice, the people who are streaming from home can't hear you without the microphone. Yes, please.
The king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was Shipraz, and the other Posha.
Pua, very good.
Pua?
Pua.
Saying, when you deliver the Hebrew woman, look at the birth stool. If it is a boy, kill him. If it is a girl, let her live. Okay,
so remember, this is the story of Pharaoh who arose over Egypt and decided that he was afraid that the Israelites were getting too strong, and so he was going to kill all the Israelite boys so that there would be no Israelite army that could rise up and overtake him later on.
The midwives, fearing God, did not do as the king of Egypt had told them. They let the boys live. So the king of Egypt summoned the midwives and said to them, why have you done this thing, letting the boys live? The midwives said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women. They are vigorous. Before the midwives can come to them, they have given birth, and God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and increased greatly. And because the midwives feared God, he established households for them. Then Pharaoh charged all the people, saying, every boy that is born you shall throw into the Nile, but let every girl live.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, so here we have a pharaoh who is sort of like a god figure, if you will. He's the big kahuna, right? And he makes this decree that they're going to kill all the boys. And these two midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, don't do it. Any reason why they don't do it? Okay, Sam says it's really clear. They feared God. But notice, not only does it say they feared God one time, it actually repeats it twice. Well, of course, the rabbis have a field day when the Torah repeats something, because why are we repeating it? They already said it. Why would they have to say it again? So does anybody want to make a thought about why it says the midwives, fearing God, did not do as the king of Egypt had told them? And later on in Exodus 1:21, it said, and because the midwives feared God, he established households for them. Any ideas? Why, perhaps, Shiphrah and Puah? It says it twice, not just once. Here's a hot news flash. You can't get it wrong. Whatever you think, we're going to go with it. Emphasis, excellent. That is absolutely right. Anytime something is mentioned twice in the Torah, it means it's meant to be emphasized, that it was very clear that Shiphrah and Puah feared God. Any other ideas? There you go. That's right. So it's not just that they feared God, but that they believed in God. And because of that, the strength of their belief, the Torah, that might just have an agenda, just saying, shows that if you believe in God and fear God, good things will come to you. But the rabbis actually say that's not true, because it's not about fearing God at all. In fact, some might say this had nothing to do with God. And the reason why it was repeated twice was to show the first time maybe it was about God, but the second time it was about them. That Shiphrah and Puah could not go against their internal moral compass. That it really wasn't about fearing God, that God was going to smote them thusly if they didn't follow. It was that they couldn't live with themselves. And so, on this Humanist Shabbat, let's think about not doing an action because God might judge us, but rather doing an action because it is the right thing to do. And we can pray as if we're not trying to get to heaven, but rather we're trying to live with ourselves here on earth. There is a concept called moral injury, which is a new term that they've come up with since the 1950s about what happens to people in war. It's different than PTSD. PTSD is when you have the post-traumatic stress syndrome, you've seen war, loud noises, you've seen the devastation of war. But moral injury is when you have been asked to take an action that goes against your own internal compass. So you might see a child and realize that that child has a bomb on it, and if you let that child come close to you and your comrades, that child will blow you up. So you have to take an action to neutralize the threat. But that threat goes against everything that you've been taught, which is you don't hurt children. And the specialists of the world say that causes moral injury. That it's not just post-traumatic stress syndrome, but rather it's that we have taken actions that go against who we are as human beings. But I want to make I want to throw an idea out there, which is moral injury can happen when we don't take an action and we know that we've been called to act. And so I want to put out to you tonight that just as Shifra and Pua followed their own moral compass and could not do as the king decreed, and so what the king did is he went around them and opened it up to all the Egyptians, not just the midwives, because they weren't following. And isn't it interesting that the very thing that Pharaoh decreed, all the Israelite boys that are born would be killed, karmically came back to him later in the 10th plague of the slaying of the firstborn Egyptians. So you have to be very careful. What goes around comes around. But back to moral injury. It's the idea that we are being called to act and we're not doing it. So I want to throw that out to all of us. I didn't say all of you. I'm including myself. Where are we knowing we need to take an action in our lives and we are not doing it? Let us have the courage that Shifra and Pua had, not so much of God, but of having to live with themselves, of having not taken the action. Shabbat Shalom. At this time in our worship service, I'm going to read the names of those of our community and families who are ill and in need of healing. We think this evening of Rabbi Bruce Goldwasser, Rabbi Fred Wanger, Leonard Schultzman, Frederick Bryan, Sonia Maria Reimar Miller, Albert Miller, Carol Pretnar, Gloria Weidhorn, Rachel Basio, Alexander Yanitzjevitz, Holly Erickson, Denise Fleischer, Cheryl Harris, Sarah Vered Bat Shoshana, Munson Lyon, Roy Warshawski, Cindy Viano, Sheila Alterman, Sammy Adam, Corey Koznowski, Aziz Amusa, Sarah Bell Stahl, Donald Guy, and all who suffer, whom we know not by name. Misha Berach, Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, V'Yaakov, Ve'imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, V'Leah, Hu Yivarech v'Rapeh et Kol Cholei Yisrael, Vayishlach lahem bimheira refuah shlema, refuah tagefet, hanefesh, refuah taguf, and Omar Amen. May the source that blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, also bless and heal all who are stricken. May those souls be mercifully restored to health and to vigor in whatever manner that restoration takes. May they be granted health of body, health of spirit, and health of mind as we say together and pray for all those who need healing. Amen. I wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about the why I do this service once a year. I love telling this story, and for those of you who've heard it, I tell it every time I do the service, so forgive me, but it's a story worth telling because it's about me. And the story is that before I took this job here at Congregation Etz Chaim, I actually was a rabbinic intern, and then my first year out of school, I was the assistant rabbi at a humanist congregation, from which I took this humanist liturgy. So this congregation in Cincinnati, Ohio, has liturgy that does not reflect a belief in God. It is not for atheists, but rather they invite everyone who wants to be culturally Jewish to come and grapple with their level of belief or even their struggle with disbelief. And so, at this congregation, we don't say the Shema. We don't say the Avot V'Imahot. There are many prayers that are not said. The one prayer that is still said, though, at least at funerals, is the mourner's Kaddish, which is why we're going to say it tonight. But I wanted us to have a space to acknowledge that there are times in our lives when we struggle with believing in God and when we struggle with even believing in ourselves. So I wanted to do this service because it's a little throwback to the congregation I used to serve, but also great story. So here it is. And the story is that I had this congregation, because I'd worked at it for 2 years, on my resume. So when it came time for me to go into the big bad world and get a job, I sent my resume to this congregation because you were looking for an assistant rabbi. Well, Rabbi Bob saw that I had worked at Beth Adam, and he said, I'm not hiring her, because he didn't want a humanist rabbi. But I really wanted to be considered for this job, and I was working with a good friend of Rabbi Bob's, and when the good friend heard that Rabbi Bob was not even considering taking my application, he called him, and he said, Rabbi Bob, just because Rabbi Kaznowski has kissed a boy does not make her heterosexual. So Rabbi Bob called me the next day, and he let me come and interview, and so the rest is history. I'm not a humanist, but I love this service because it gives us a place to come to grapple freely and to pray without the deity being in our way. And so I invite you to give me feedback at the Oneg over a good cookie and let me know how you experienced this service and whether or not you would want me to continue it as I do every year. We can modify it. We can do it every 2 years. We can do it every 5 years. We can do it more often. Whatever it is that feels comfortable to you. I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. And so we continue. Page 6. May I discover the ability to feel the pain of others, work for others, among others, and there come to feel a part of that to which I belong. May I discover the ability to be alone so that I can go out of doors each day among the flowers and the trees, among the birds and all that live beneath the sky of stars and planets, and there come to feel a part of that to which I belong. May I discover the ability to sit in silence so that I may hear not the voice of others, but my own voice, the beat of my heart, the sound of my breath, the utterance of my soul, and here come to feel a part of that to which I belong. Listen to the silence. Our lives are confused by clutter. Interruption abounds, buffeting us about, betraying the silence, slicing into our senses of self. Listen, listen to the silence. Shabbat provides a wall against intrusion, yet we must, week by week, construct that wall for ourselves. Shabbat provides the opportunity to change our pace, to find inner peace. Listen, listen to the silence. Shabbat provides the opportunity to discover playful connection with others, to recover our harmony with a force greater than our own, to uncover our oneness with the universe. Listen. Tempting, tantalizing with its continual presence, Shabbat reappears in our life cycle of life, offering the possibilities we can only imagine. Yet noise overpowers our ability to hear. Busyness overwhelms our search for calm. We struggle with the demands of our daily lives, losing our power to find serenity. a serenity that is offered to us through our heritage, through the wisdom of our ancestors, ordaining a day of rest, we must for a time close our eyes to the ever-growing list of things we must do in order to see the beauty that surrounds us. We must for a moment listen to the silence within ourselves that allows us to hear the sounds of the universe. White clouds circling above, songs of birds flying through the air, smiles of friendship reaching outward, freely given, laughter of children finding joy in play. Shabbat offers us that opportunity. It reminds us that life offers beauty and joy. Life offers gifts of music, of art, of nature. In the silence of Shabbat, we touch the treasures of friendship and love. It is ours to savor. It is our choice to make. And so we sit together at a time of great worldly unrest, and we take solace in being with friends and being with our community. In a world where loneliness seems to be at an all-time high, where shootings and destruction and desolation crowd our news feed, let's come to this safe and sacred space and really remember who we are, shooting seeds of energy that will burst forth when it's time, and that by being together in the warmth and love of our community, grappling together with our beliefs and our desires and yearnings, we will be given everything that we need to succeed for the week, for the year, and for our lives. At this time, it is my pleasure to invite Rick Schoenfield to offer a few words to us on behalf of the Board of Directors.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm Rick Schoenfield. They actually include that for me, with some announcements on behalf of the board. Thank you to our usher John, our greeter Deb, and our security team. Welcome back, Rabbi Kosnowski, and thank you for the unique experience of this humanist service. On January 14th, we will be celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. Day with a visit from Stacy Walker of DuPage United, who will share her experiences organizing for social change. We will also be collecting donations for local domestic abuse survivors shelters. Please check online for more information about what items they need. Warm up with us next Shabbat at our first Soup Shabbat of 2024. For more information on upcoming events, check out our weekly happenings email. Please join us after services for a wonderful oneg. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. It is up to each one of us to be informed and to consider carefully. But ideas are inert if they are not infused with life through acts of love and kindness. To know where we stand is crucial. To act is to be counted. May the visions of our dreams and the wishes of our hearts be fulfilled. The cycle of life unfolds, and just as we rejoice in new life, we mourn its final ending. The inevitable death of those whose lives have touched ours. And tonight we join with others as we say aloud the words which help to recall those we have lost. We remember the moments we have shared, the laughter, the tears, the beauty, and the pain. Inevitably, as our lives intertwined, we have touched one another. We have been influenced, changed, enriched by their presence. And so as we mourn their loss, we celebrate their life. Thus the cycle continues, their lives forever marking the unfolding of our own. We pause at this time to reflect upon those who are no longer among us. This moment of remembrance links life to life and generation to generation. Let's pause for a moment of silent meditation as we recall those whom death has taken from us at this time in years past, and even for us whom we are here to mourn today. We recall with love Louis Nadler, father of Lila Warshawski, Manuel Robbins, grandfather of Ronnie Markwell, Rebecca Faffel Golds, great-grandmother of Susan Landau Van Dyke, grandmother-in-law of Eileen Landau, Elliot Landau, husband of Eileen Landau, father of Susan Landau Van Dyke, grandfather of Esther, Ayla, and Robert Van Dyke, Ida Bernstein, grandmother of Howard Benario, Jenny Kaplan, grandmother of Gary Pallier, Fred Palais, grandfather of Barbara Tischler, Emily Oberman, mother-in-law of Stephen Samuels, Hershey Kaluzna, cousin of Mo Headington, Richard Lancer, father of Maxine Marr, Helen East, mother of Fred Solomon, Ruth Blumenstein, grandmother of Brian Blumenstein, Larry Madison, grandfather of Sam and Ava Madison, Vera Kahn, mother of Michael Kahn, Max Shapiro, uncle of Michelle Miller, Philip Ginsler, grandfather of Beverly Eisenhut, Lillian Greenspan, mother of Richard Heisler, I.E. Jackson, father of Leslie Gantner, Hyman Linda, grandfather of Marcy Larson, Esther Rubacek, mother of Donald Rubacek, grandmother of Adam Rubacek, great-grandmother of Eliana Rubacek, Robert Stamm, father of Judith Frankel, grandfather of Daniel Frankel, Cecile Kirshner, mother of Barry Fidlow, Dina Lineado, aunt of Craig Mandel, Sheldon Rosen, father of Jeffrey Rosen, James Brower, father of Jennifer Brower, Leah Jacobson, mother of Beryl Jacobson, Ed Braverman, uncle of Cynthia Swanson, Sylvia Myro, stepmother of Carol Nymark, Leonard Janine, father of Toby Kunix, David Talbot, father of John Talbot, Jean Deal, mother of Susan Wisniewski, Randy Taylor, friend of Kathleen Shapiro, Norman Sokol, brother of Howie Sokol, Gerald Bild, Linda Grossinger, and we are in the period of Shloshim, the 30 days following the death of our loved ones, so we mourn the recent passing of Pamela Severin, daughter of Jack Berman, Wayne Lewis Freeman, father of Barry Freeman, grandfather of Adam, Ben, and Sam Freeman, and Rabbi David Ellenson, our friend and teacher. If there's anyone here who is commemorating a loss or mourning a yortzeit, please feel free, as my hand goes through the congregation, to say their names aloud. And is there anyone in a period of mourning that would like to be recognized to stand before we say the mourner's Kaddish? And so we rise together. Death cannot take that which is locked in our hearts. With our tears and our sorrow, we remember. With our courage and our strength, we do not forget. Acts of kindness, deeds of courage will remain. Beauty created, wisdom shared, is not lost. With our tears in our sorrow, we remember. With our tears in our sorrow, we remember. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may the memories of good people bless our days. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, Bi'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayei uvyomei uvchayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agalal uvizman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam omei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru v'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Please be seated. In the movie The Lion King, there is a scene where Simba has been separated from his pride, from his people for a very long time. He ran away because he was afraid that he was responsible, that he had been responsible for his father's death. And there was a monkey who found him and knew who he was. And so he followed the monkey because the monkey said that the father, that he was afraid that he was responsible for his death, was not in fact dead at all, but rather still very much alive. So Simba followed the monkey to the river, where Simba looked into the river and he saw his reflection, but he was very disappointed because he was expecting to see his father. And he said to the monkey, "That's not my father, that's just a reflection of me." And the monkey said to Simba, "Look closer and remember who you are." And when Simba looked at his reflection, he saw his father in the reflection staring back, that his father was very much alive and still very much with him. All he had to do was remember who he was. May we remember on this holy Shabbat, through the lessons of Shifra and Pua, who we are and what our purpose in this life really is. May we be blessed with that wisdom, and let us say together, Amen. Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila lemikra kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'acharta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, b'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mikadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz, b'tei avon. B'tei avon, everyone. Let's go dig into our challah and have a nice cookie. Shabbat shalom.